Welcome to the Important College Terminology and Campus Resources presentation. My name is Aaron Ray. I'm an Assistant Director of Opportunity Programs at Skidmore College in New York. I want to share some advice from some of my current students. Erica says, if you are admitted to college, you belong at the college. Don't let anyone tell you any different. This is real. Oftentimes, students feel like they don't belong, they don't fit in, maybe they weren't admitted for the right reasons. If an institution has admitted you, you belong there. Michael says you're going to meet people who are very different than you, and that is not necessarily a bad thing. Go into college with an open mind and be ready to try something new. This is real, and it's really important to know that yes, there are going to be aspects of the college experience that may feel uncomfortable. Um, but over time, students are able to open up and branch out and experience things that otherwise they never would have experienced. I had a friend in undergrad who was from Nigeria. She had never skied before. I took her skiing. She now skis every winter. Um, it can be intimidating being with people from different states who look very different from you, from different types of schooling background. But it's important that you build a network because that network is going to be important for you years after you graduate. Campbell says no matter how intimidating your professor may seem, they're there to make sure their students succeed. That includes you. I can't reemphasize this enough. Utilize your professors. They want to work with their students. They wouldn't be professors if they didn't care about their students. Professors make decent money. They could be making a lot more money if they were using their PhDs for something else. Finally, from Hayun, find 1 to 2 adult mentors on campus, adults that you can go to in a time of need. You'll also likely make a lot of friends in college, but make sure you find 2 to 3 really good friends who will have your back when you're at your lowest. All-nighters tend to do that to you. Having the support will help you to get through the inevitable challenging times. Hyun makes a great point, and this is something that I've been stressing to students for years. It's very easy to get caught up in everything that college is. It's easy to make a lot of friends, but it's important that you build yourself a support network when you're on campus. Institutions of higher education provide a lot of campus resources, including but not limited to bursar's office, provost slash vice president's offices, academic advisors, the department chair, associate chairs of particular programs or majors, office hours, registrar, and residential life. The bursar, think of it as the person that you have to pay your college bill to. They're the one who apply all your financial aid to your bill, and that is who you have to pay each semester in order to be eligible to continue your education at the institution, and to register for courses the following semester. It's important to know the difference between the financial aid office and the bursar. A lot of students automatically just go to the financial aid office to handle everything involving money, but it is the bursar office that you go to pay your tuition. The provost, the vice president, there's a college president and then there's the provost. Each institution kind of handles it a little bit differerly, but generally there's different divisions of an institution and there's a provost or vice president overseeing each of those divisions. The VPs that students most commonly come into contact with are the VPs for student affairs and the VP for academic affairs. They're also sometimes referred to as deans, and some institutions have vice presidents, provosts, and then they have deans under them. It can be a little bit confusing, but just know that the provost and the vice president share the same roles. Academic advisors. Academic advisors will vary from institution to institution. Some schools, professors play the role of academic advisors. At other schools, typically larger schools, they'll actually have people on campus who their sole responsibility is to do academic advising. These roles can change during your time. At smaller institutions, sometimes students will have a professor who is assigned as an advisor during the first year, and then once the student declares their major, they find an advisor within that major. The department chair, associate chair, they are the faculty who are in charge of their major. So there's a department chair for math, there's a department chair for engineering. Those are the people you go to if you're having challenges within your major, you need a signature, to allow you to be a major, or you're having issues with a professor within that department. The department chair or the associate chair are the people you go to in those departments to rectify challenging situations. Office hours. I have students all the time tell me that they thought office hours are when the professors are busy. No, it is the opposite. Office hours are when professors are in their offices ready and willing to work with any student who walks through their door. Sometimes office hours happen during a class that you're in, or you're at work site. You can't attend those office hours. If you can't make a professor's office hours, but you need to meet with them, you need to speak to them, you can oftentimes email them and find a time to meet with them outside of their office hours. The registrar. The registrar is similar to, I guess, the role that guidance played in your high school years. The registrar is what handles all the scheduling. So when you schedule your courses, it's through the office known as the registrar's office. They handle all the academic policies and procedures. It's rare that students hang out in the registrar's office a lot, but it's very important that you know where their office is and that you read their emails. Finally, the residential life office play a big role, especially during students' first years in college. If you're living on campus, there's no escaping the office of residential life. A lot of the rules and regulations on campus stem from that office. There's usually a director, an associate director of residential life. Maybe there's assistant directors, but in the residence halls, there's people who are known as residential directors or area coordinators who oversee that residence hall. And each floor will have what's known as a RA or a residential assistant, who is an upper class student who enforces the rules and regulations, but also is a resource for students on their floor. There are a number of important offices to utilize on campus. It's more than just what is listed here, but these are some that I feel are really important for students to know and to feel comfortable utilizing. First one up is financial aid office. This is probably an office that you're already familiar with. If you apply for financial aid, you have to continue to work with them during all 4 years. If you expect to have financial aid, you do have to submit the FAFSA every year. Typically in a financial aid office, they will have a person who is responsible for you as a student. Get to know them well, read all emails from the financial aid office, and make sure you hit every single deadline because they determine how much financial aid you receive every year. I just spoke about the residential life, but it is a resource on campus. There's a number of things that could happen. It could be an office that you have a lot of fun with, or it could be an office that is giving you points for breaking rules on campus. But residential life is really important to know where they are in cases of emergencies, or if you're having issues like you and your roommate don't get along. The Office of Multicultural Affairs, this is an office that has a number of different titles on different campuses. Some are really large, some are really small, even staffed with just one person, but it's important to know who that one person is. This office is responsible for putting on programming for students from multicultural backgrounds. Uh, their role on campus can vary, but oftentimes different multicultural clubs and organizations come out of this office, and it is often a safe space for students on campus who otherwise may not feel comfortable in other spaces. Student academic services, academic support offices, these are offices that oftentimes students think, I don't have to use that office. I don't need tutoring. I don't need extra help. But oftentimes students do, they're just in denial. You don't just need this office if you need tutoring, if you need extended time or you have learning differences, testing anxiety, if you need paperwork to show professors that you have extra time, or if you need someone to take notes for you, all of that is handled in the Student Academic Services office. Again, like the Office of Multicultural Affairs, Student Academic Services often have different names, different sizes, different missions, but most colleges have them, and it is a huge resource for students that oftentimes students don't realize until they're a junior or senior in college. The library. You've had a library in high school, you have a library in your local community, but college libraries tend to be more robust and offer much more in the ways of services. It's important for students to be familiar with the library, not just for utilizing study spaces, But librarians, college librarians are there to help students. They're there to help show students how to request resources from other institutions. If there's a book that your library doesn't have, other college libraries may have it and you can request it. Oftentimes, this is a great way for students to save money. Instead of buying books, they can take them out of the library at no cost at all. The Counseling Center is another really important resource. Mental health is a major challenge in this country, and oftentimes students who have gone to college have never had to utilize mental health resources before. This is especially common in students of color. Mental health is not something that is often discussed in families, and oftentimes students are intimidated or embarrassed to even talk about needing to utilize the counseling center. But it is a resource, and it is a free resource for students on campus. I can't stress enough how important it is. It's better to get a handle on your challenges before they get to a point where the institution can't help and you have to seek services elsewhere. Finally, the health center. The health center is really important, especially now in the age of COVID-19. Health centers provide free or reduced services for students regardless of your health insurance. They oftentimes can provide many of the services you would typically go to your doctor's office for. Oftentimes students will think, I'll just suck it up and get over this cold by myself. But again, it's part of your cost of attendance. Utilizing the health center does not often cost students money. Some institutions are also able to provide pharmaceutical services. So if you have a regular medication that you need to keep, your college health center can often help you with that. There's a lot of college terminology that may sound foreign at first, but typically over time you start to familiarize yourself with these terminology. Syllabus. Syllabus is your holy grail for a particular course. It maps out the the professors' policies and procedures, when their office hours are, how they break down grading, when assignments are due, when quizzes and exams are. The syllabus is your holy grail. Professors oftentimes are not going to remind you of due dates. Why? Because it's in the syllabus. It's very easy for a student to be like, oh, I don't have anything due until week 3. And then week 3 comes and you're like, oh, I totally forgot about that. It's important to learn how to utilize the syllabus. It's something that if your high school teachers used, fantastic, then you're a little bit used to it. But in college, the syllabus is everything for each individual course. Work study. Oftentimes there's rumors that for work study, you work and that money gets applied to your financial aid. That is not the case. When you work, you receive that money. You can put it towards your bill, or you can use it to buy toiletries and purchase train or flights home. Work study is often not a lucrative job. It is not a job where you get a ton of hours, but it is guaranteed money in your financial aid package. At drop deadline. So in college, to be considered a full-time student, you have to maintain at least 12 credits. Some courses are worth 3 credits, 2 credits, 1 credit, or 4 credits. If you add courses before the add deadline, you're good. If you try to add courses after the add deadline has ended, you're not going to be able to unless you get special permission from faculty, which even then is still hard to get approval by the registrar's office. The drop deadline is a little bit later, and by dropping a course before the drop deadline, it's not going to show up on your transcript at all. If you drop a course after the drop deadline, oftentimes there's what we call a W, or something signifying that you were in this course and now you're no longer in this course. Some institutions put a limit on how many courses you can drop after the drop deadline. At Skidmore, it is 2 courses over your 4 years. Oftentimes students want to avoid having a W on their transcript because they're worried that employers might see it, or if they're applying to grad school, it might look poorly. But it is really important that if you're dropping a course, that you're not falling below 12 credits, because then it can have a negative impact on your federal financial aid. Associate's degree versus bachelor's degree. Associate's degrees are 2 year degrees, bachelor's are 4 year degrees. The only real difference is the depth of knowledge that you're obtaining within that degree program. For an associate's degree, you're obtaining 60 credits. For a bachelor's degree, you're obtaining 120 credits. Oftentimes, employment will require at least associate's degree or at least a bachelor's. So it's important to have that designation. Oftentimes, students attending community colleges will obtain an associate's degree and then transfer and do another 2 years and obtain a bachelor's degree. Core curriculum, general education curriculum. Colleges have different names for it, but generally it's all the same. They want students to take courses in different disciplines. So a math course, a science course, a foreign language course, some reading and writing courses. So even if you're an engineering major, you're still going to learn how to write. And even if you're a English major, you're still going to take some courses in science. It's important to understand what the general education requirements are at your institution so that you can plan out your 4 years of study and fulfill all those so that you can graduate. Electives are courses that you take that are outside your major or minor. So if you are a math major and you take a music class, typically that music class will be considered an elective. Depending on what your major is and if you're double majoring or not, impacts how many elective courses you'll be able to take. But elective courses allow students to explore other interests outside of their major. A lecture course. A lecture course is when a professor is mostly doing the presentation, doing most of the talking. There's oftentimes time for questions from students, but mostly students are sitting there and taking notes. Lecture courses are often larger, ranging from 25 to 400 students in the lecture hall. Oftentimes, students prefer smaller class sizes where they get to interact and have discussions. But lecture courses are typically those courses that are going to be larger. Major and minors. All a major and minor is, it's a set of requirements. I have a lot of students that try to tell me that they want a double major and double minor, and I try to explain to them all you're doing is just giving yourself more requirements in order for you to fill, in order to graduate. Having multiple majors, and this is often a big misconception, having multiple majors does not give you multiple degrees. You only get one degree when you cross that stage, and it's only going to say one thing on it. But oftentimes students will tell me, no, I'm going to double major and minor, and then they look at me like I'm crazy when I tell them that they still only get one degree. A prerequisite is basically requirements in order for you to take a course. So if you want to take Calculus 2, the prerequisite is Calculus 1. Um, Oftentimes, upper level courses have prerequisites. Those are often introductory courses. Students are usually confused about that when they start out college, but think of it this way. You need to have a foundation in that course before you can be successful in it academically. If you're trying to take Calculus 2 and you've never taken calculus before, you're going to have a really hard time. So prerequisites are there for student benefits. Finally, thesis. Thesis is the big capstone project that students do within their major before they graduate. Oftentimes it is a large research project. They're doing a lot of writing. They're becoming an expert within that topic. And it is a big accomplishment for students. There's a lot of important events and a lot of traditions that institutions have. One of them is orientation. Orientation is a requirement for all incoming students, but some institutions also offer pre-orientation. It's a way for students to get to campus a little bit earlier, have some sort of experience with a smaller group of students, but it also typically costs more. Orientation does not cost more. Pre-orientation costs more, but oftentimes you're going camping or doing community service or having some sort of experience. Orientation is sort of your introduction to college. It's when families drop their students off. Students learn about all the things that college has going on. It's typically done over 2 or 3 days. Some colleges do it right before classes start. Other colleges bring students to campus during the summer, and then they go back home and then come back in the fall. Greek life. Greek life is a really important experience for a lot of students. In order to join a Greek organization in college, you have to go through the pledging process, which is going to vary depending on what kind of Greek organization it is and what institution it's at. One thing that is common between Greek organizations from campus to campus is that you have to pay membership dues. This can be prohibitive for a lot of students because having an extra couple $1,000s to spend per year to be a part of an organization just isn't realistic for some students, but it creates a sense of community for students to feel a part of, which works out really well when students are attending larger universities. Midterms and final exams. Yes, in high school, you probably experience midterms and final exams, but not like you will in college. These typically will cover all the material covered up until that point, and oftentimes colleges will provide study days in order for students to prepare for them. It is important to utilize those study days. Those are not party days, those are not video game days. It's important that you take those midterms and final exams serious because they make up a major portion of your final grade. Registration is the period when you're able to select courses. Oftentimes, you have to meet with your advisor before you're cleared to actually register. Registration usually takes place online now, but it's run through the registrar's office. Family and celebration weekend is a tradition that a lot of institutions have. It's when family members of students come and visit them. It typically takes place in early to mid-October and is centered around a major sporting event on campus. Finally, commencement. Commencement is graduation. Some of you just experienced graduation from high school. Commencement is graduation times 100. It's a really large ceremony. It involves a number of guest speakers. Awards are handed out, and it is the culmination, it's the end of a major academic journey for students, especially for students who are first gen, the first to graduate in their families. Finally, to wrap up, I just want you to all know that colleges and universities provide a lot of services that are designed to help students graduate. It is okay to ask for help. No one ever makes it through life all by themselves. It's okay to ask for help. Even if you were valedictorian of your high school, even if you were National Honor Society and you were the top student in all your classes, college is a different beast. College is hard. College is hard for a lot of different reasons. It is okay to ask for help. Make sure you don't miss important deadlines. And the way you do that is to make sure you're checking your email. Checking your email has to become a daily thing, multiple times a day, not just in college, but in life in general. Finally, you are all blessed to have the support of the good folks at College Aim. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of students every year who are applying to college all by themselves. College Aim provides a lot of resources, takes students on trips. They've been through the admissions process with hundreds of students. They know what they're doing. Utilize them. Listen to them. There are times that it may feel like they're nagging you. I promise you, they're doing it for a reason. Make the most out of College Aim and then go off to college and make them proud. I'm wishing you all the best in this journey. Please feel free to reach out to me at any time.
Surprise, graduates, it's Mr. A. Y'all haven't gotten rid of me yet. I just wanted to pop up quickly to remind you to please complete the form that is listed in the description below. You will be entered in a drawing for a weekly $250 scholarship by completing that form. It should take you 1 or 2 minutes at most, not a big deal at all, and it's the easiest application you can complete for a scholarship all summer. So please make sure you do that. We'll select one scholarship winner each week, and best of luck. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.